The rain slammed against the windshield, a relentless drumbeat that drowned out the radio's faint hum. Elena gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles pale, as she navigated the slick roads of suburban Connecticut. She was late, horribly, unforgivably late, for Mia's 21st birthday party, and the guilt was a knot in her chest. She'd promised Mia she'd be there, her best friend since middle school, the one who'd stuck by her through every awkward phase and heartbreak. But work at the bookstore had dragged on, a last-minute inventory crisis stealing hours she couldn't spare. Now at 9 p.m., the party was likely in full swing, and Elena was still 10 minutes from Mia's house. Her phone buzzed on the passenger seat, but she didn't dare check it. The storm was bad enough without distractions. When she finally pulled into the driveway, the house looked alive with light and music, silhouettes dancing behind the curtains. Elena grabbed the gift bag carefully wrapped with a book of poetry she picked out for Mia and sprinted through the rain to the porch. She knocked, her heart racing, but no one answered. The music was too loud, the laughter too bright. She knocked again, harder, then tried the doorbell. Nothing. Defeated, she turned to leave, her sneakers squelching on the wet porch, when the door swung open. Clara, Mia's mom, stood there, framed by the warm glow of the entryway. At 40, Clara was striking auburn hair cut in a sleek bob, green eyes that seemed to see straight through you, and a presence that made the air feel heavier, richer. She wore a flowing blouse and a skirt that swayed as she leaned against the doorframe, a glass of wine in her hand. "Elena!" Clara's voice was smooth with a hint of surprise. "You're soaked. Come in, come in." Elena hesitated, clutching the gift bag. "I'm so sorry I'm late." "Is Mia?" Clara's smile was soft, almost wistful. "Mia's gone. The party moved to Jake's place about an hour ago. They're young, you know, chasing the night." She tilted her head, studying Elena. "But you're here now. Why don't you come in and dry off? You can celebrate with me." Elena blinked, caught off guard. Celebrate with her? The words hung in the air, warm and inviting, like the light spilling from the house. Something in Clara's gaze, a flicker of curiosity, maybe something more, made Elena's pulse quicken. She should leave, catch up with Mia, apologize for being late. But her feet moved forward, drawn by an instinct she couldn't name. Inside, the house smelled of vanilla candles and fresh flowers. The living room was a haven of soft lighting, fairy lights strung along the walls, a fireplace crackling in the corner. Clara gestured to the couch, handing Elena a towel. "You look like you've been through a war," she said, her tone teasing but kind. "Let me get you something warm. Tea? Wine?" "Tea, please," Elena said, her voice small. She felt out of place, her wet clothes clinging to her skin, but Clara's ease made the room feel less intimidating. As Clara disappeared into the kitchen, Elena sank onto the couch, the gift bag still in her lap. She glanced around, noticing the framed photos on the mantel, Mia as a kid, Clara and Mia together, smiling. There was no trace of Mia's dad, who'd left when they were young. Clara had raised Mia alone, a fact Elena had always admired but never fully grasped until now, seeing the home Clara had built. Clara returned with a steaming mug of chamomile tea and sat across from Elena, her movements graceful, deliberate. "So," she said, sipping her wine, "what kept you?" "Mia was disappointed you weren't here earlier." Elena winced, the guilt resurfacing. "Work. The bookstore was a mess tonight. I didn't mean to miss it." She paused, her fingers tracing the edge of the mug. "I feel awful. Mia's my best friend." Clara nodded, her expression softening. "She'll forgive you. She always does." There was a pause, then Clara leaned forward, her eyes locking onto Elena's. "But you're here now. That counts for something." The air shifted, charged with a quiet intensity. Elena felt Ida pull, a warmth that wasn't just from the tea or the fire. Clara's gaze was steady, searching, and Elena couldn't look away. She'd known Clara for years, seen her at school events, birthday parties, but tonight felt different. Clara wasn't just Mia's mom. She was something else. They talked, the conversation flowing easily, books, music, the small joys and frustrations of life. Elena found herself laughing, relaxing, the weight of the day slipping away. Clara shared stories of her own youth, her dreams of being a painter before life steered her toward stability, raising Mia. There was a spark in her voice, a hunger for something more, and Elena felt it echo in her own chest. Hours passed, the storm outside fading to a gentle patter. Elena glanced at her finino new messages from Mia. She should go find her friend, make things right. But Clara's hand brushed hers as she reached for the empty mug. And the touch sent a jolt through Elena's body. It was brief, accidental, but it lingered. You don't have to rush off, Clara said, her voice low, almost a whisper. The night's still young. Elena's breath caught. She was 22, still figuring out who she was, what she wanted. Clara was 40, confident, magnetic, and completely off-limits. Yet the pull between them was undeniable. A thread stretched tight, ready to snap. I should. Elena started, but the words faltered. She didn't want to leave. Not yet. Clara smiled, a slow, knowing smile. Stay a little longer, she said. Let's see where the night takes us. And in that moment, Elena knew she was standing on the edge of something dangerous, something beautiful. She just wasn't sure she could turn back. The clock on the mantel ticked past midnight, but time felt irrelevant in Clara's living room. The fairy lights cast a golden glow, softening the edges of the world, and Elena felt like she was floating in a dream. She was still on the couch, her legs tucked beneath her, the empty tea mug forgotten on the coffee table. Clara sat closer now, their knees almost touching. She'd refilled her wine glass once, but her movements were steady, her eyes clear and piercing. You're different tonight, Clara said, her voice soft but deliberate. Not the shy kid I remember from Mia's sleepovers. Elena laughed, a nervous sound. I was pretty awkward back then, wasn't I? You were adorable, Clara corrected, her lips curving into a smile that made Elena's stomach flip. But now, you've grown into yourself. You're not afraid to take up space. The compliment landed like a spark, warm and dangerous. Elena shifted, her fingers twisting the hem of her sweater. She wasn't used to being seen like this, not by anyone, let alone Clara. At 22, she was still navigating her identity, her desires. She'd dated a few women in college, brief flings that fizzled out, but nothing had ever felt like this slow electric pull that made her hyper-aware of every glance, every brush of Clara's hand. I don't know about that, Elena said, her voice barely above a whisper. I feel like I'm still figuring things out. Clara tilted her head, her gaze softening. That's the beauty of it, Elena. You're young. You get to make mistakes, chase dreams, fall in love. She paused, her eyes flickering with something unspoken. I envy that. Elena's heart thudded. You're not exactly old, Clara. You've got everything. This house, Mia, your whole life. Clara's laugh was low, almost bitter. This house is a lot of work, and Mia's grown. My life's been about her for so long. I sometimes forget what I want. She leaned back, sipping her wine, her eyes never leaving Elena's. But tonight I'm remembering. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Elena's mouth went dry. She should change the subject, talk about Mia, the party, anything safe. But the air was thick with possibility, and she couldn't resist the pull. What do you want? She asked, her voice trembling. Clara set her glass down, her movements slow, deliberate. She leaned forward, closing the small distance between them. Right now, she said, her voice a velvet whisper. I want to know what makes you tick, Elena. What keeps you up at night? What makes your heart race? Elena's breath hitched. Clara was so close now, her perfumey a mix of jasmine and something earthier filling the space between them. Elena could see the faint lines at the corners of Clara's eyes, the way her lips parted slightly, waiting. It was too much, too fast, but Elena couldn't look away. Elena started, then stopped. Her mind was a whirlwind, guilt over missing Mia's party, fear of crossing a line, and a burning curiosity about where this moment could lead. I don't know how to answer that. Clara's smile was gentle, but there was a fire in her eyes. Then let me help you figure it out. Before Elena could respond, Clara's hand reached out, her fingers grazing Elena's wrist. The touch was light, but it sent a shockwave through her, igniting something deep and unspoken. Elena didn't pull away. She couldn't. Instead, she leaned into the touch, her heart pounding so loudly she was sure Clara could hear it. The room seemed to shrink, the world narrowing to the space between them. Clara's hand lingered, her thumb brushing softly against Elena's skin. You're shaking, Clara murmured, her voice laced with concern and something else. Something that made Elena's chest ache. I'm okay, Elena lied, her voice barely audible. She wasn't okay. She was terrified, exhilarated, caught in a moment she didn't fully understand but didn't want to end. Clara's eyes searched hers, and for a moment, Elena thought she might pull back, break the spell. But then Clara leaned closer, her breath warm against Elena's cheek. "You don't have to be afraid," she whispered. "Not with me." The words were a lifeline, and Elena clung to them. She didn't know what was happening, didn't know if this was wrong or right, but she knew she wanted Clara. Wanted this feeling of being seen, wanted alive. She closed her eyes, her lips parting, and her phone buzzed, sharp and jarring, shattering the moment. Elena jerked back, her face flushing as she fumbled for the device. It was a text from Mia. "Where are you?" "Party's at Jake's now. You coming?" Reality crashed in. Mia. Her best friend. Clara's daughter. What was she doing? Elena's hands trembled as she stared at the screen, guilt flooding her system. I should go," she stammered, standing abruptly. Clara leaned back, her expression unreadable. "If that's what you want," she said, her voice calm but tinged with something disappointment. "Regret?" Elena grabbed her jacket, her movements clumsy. "I'm sorry, I need to find Mia." Clara nodded, standing to walk her to the door. "You're always welcome here, Elena," she said, her tone warm but guarded. "Anytime." As Elena stepped back into the rain, the cold air hit her like a slap. She glanced back at Clara, framed in the doorway, her silhouette glowing against the warm light of the house. The pull was still there, stronger than ever, but so was the guilt. She'd missed Mia's party, and now she was running from something she couldn't name. She drove to Jake's, the text from Mia burning in her mind, but all she could think about was Clara's touch, her voice, the way she'd made Elena feel like the only person in the world. And as the rain streaked down her windshield, she knew she was already too deep to turn back. The party at Jake's was chaos, bodies packed into a cramped living room, music blasting, laughter and shouts blending into a dizzying roar. Elena stood in the doorway, scanning for Mia, her heart still racing from the drive. She'd spent the entire trip replaying the moment with Clara. The heat of her touch, the weight of her words. It felt like a dream, but the guilt was painfully real. She spotted Mia near the kitchen, a red cup in her hand, laughing with a group of friends. Elena pushed through the crowd, her gift bag crumpled from the rain. "Mia!" she called, her voice barely cutting through the noise. Mia turned, her face lighting up, then faltering. "Elena? Where the hell have you been? I thought you bailed on me." "I'm so sorry," Elena said, her words tumbling out. "Work was a nightmare. And then the rain. I stopped by your house, but you'd already left." Mia's expression softened, but there was a flicker of hurt in her eyes. "You could have texted. I was worried." I know. I messed up." Elena held out the gift bag, a peace offering. "I got you this. Happy birthday." Mia took the bag, her smile returning as she peeked inside. "Poetry? You know me too well." She hugged Elena, the tension easing, but Elena felt a pang of unease. She hadn't told Mia about stopping at her house, about Clara. How could she? They joined the party, Mia pulling Elena into the fray, but Elena's mind was elsewhere. Every laugh, every song, felt like a distraction from the truth simmering inside her. She sipped a soda, her eyes drifting to the window, where the rain had slowed to a drizzle. She wondered what Clara was doing now, if she was still sitting in that warm living room, thinking about their almost moment. As the night wore on, Mia got tipsier, her arms slung around Elena's shoulders. "You're staying over tonight, right?" Mia said, her words slurring slightly. "Mom's probably lonely at home. She loves when you're around." Elena's stomach twisted. "Yeah, maybe," she said, forcing a smile. The idea of going back to Mia's house, facing Clara again, was both thrilling and terrifying. She wasn't sure she could trust herself to stay composed. By 2 a.m., the party was winding down, and Mia was half asleep on a couch. Elena helped her into an Uber, promising Jake she'd get Mia home safe. The drive back to Mia's house was quiet, Mia dozing in the passenger seat, the gift bag in her lap. Elena's hands gripped the wheel, her thoughts a tangle of desire and dread. When they pulled into the driveway, the house was dark except for a single light in the living room. Elena helped Mia inside, guiding her to her bedroom upstairs. Mia mumbled a thank you before collapsing onto her bed, still in her party clothes. Elena tucked a blanket over her, her heart heavy with affection and guilt. Downstairs she hesitated. She could leave now, slip out before Clara noticed. But as she reached for her keys, she heard soft footsteps. Clara appeared in the hallway wearing a silk robe, her hair slightly mussed, as if she'd been reading or waiting. "You're back," Clara said, her voice quiet but warm. "How's Mia?" "Drunk but safe," Elena said, managing a small smile. "She's asleep." Clara nodded, stepping closer. "You didn't have to bring her home. But I'm glad you did." Her eyes searched Elena's, and the air thickened again, that same electric pull from earlier. "You look exhausted. Stay for a bit. I'll make coffee." Elena knew she should say no, but her resolve was crumbling. "Okay," she said, her voice barely audible. They sat at the kitchen table, the coffee's rich aroma filling the space. Clara was quieter now, her earlier boldness tempered by something softer, more vulnerable. "I don't usually do this," she said, staring into her mug. "Flirt with my daughter's friends. It's complicated." Elena's heart skipped. "You were flirting?" she asked, half teasing, half hoping. Clara laughed, a low, rich sound. "Don't play coy, Elena. You felt it too." The admission hung between them, raw and undeniable. Elena's cheeks burned, but she didn't look away. "I did," she admitted, her voice trembling. "But, Mia, this is wrong, isn't it?" Clara's expression softened, but there was a fire in her eyes. "Maybe, but does it feel wrong?" Elena didn't answer. She couldn't. Because the truth was, it didn't feel wrong, it felt like the most honest thing she'd ever felt. But the weight of Mia's friendship, the fear of betrayal, anchored her in place. Clara reached across the table, her hand covering Elena's. "You don't have to decide anything tonight," she said. "Just don't run from it." Elena nodded, her throat tight. She wanted to stay, to lean into this feeling. But the clock was ticking, and reality was waiting. As she left the house, Clara's touch lingered on her skin, a promise and a question she wasn't ready to answer. The next week was a blur of avoidance and yearning. Elena threw herself into work at the bookstore, organizing shelves, helping customers, anything to keep her mind off Clara. But every quiet moment brought her back the memory of Clara's hand on hers, the way her voice had softened, the unspoken promise in her eyes. She hadn't told Mia anything. How could she? "Hey, I almost kissed your mom," wasn't exactly a conversation starter. Mia had texted her the next day, thanking her for getting her home, oblivious to the storm brewing in Elena's heart. They'd hung out once since, grabbing coffee, but Elena had been distant, her thoughts elsewhere. Mia had noticed, asking if she was okay, but Elena brushed it off, blaming work stress. Now, standing in the bookstore's back room, surrounded by stacks of unsorted novels, Elena felt trapped. She wanted to see Clara again, to understand what was happening between them, but the risks were paralyzing. Clara was Mia's mom, 18 years older, a line that shouldn't be crossed. Yet the pull was relentless, a tide she couldn't fight. Her phone buzzed, and her heart leaped when she saw Clara's name. "Can you stop by this afternoon? I could use help with something." No mention of what, just an address and a time. Elena stared at the message, her thumb hovering over the keyboard. She should say no, keep her distance. But her fingers typed sure, "I'll be there," before she could stop herself. When she arrived at Mia's house, Clara was in the backyard, setting up a small easel and paints. She wore a loose linen shirt, sleeves rolled up, her hair tied back. The sight of her so relaxed and focused made Elena's chest tighten. "You paint?" Elena asked, stepping onto the grass. Clara glanced up, her smile warm. "Used to. I'm trying to get back into it. Thought you might want to join me." Elena hesitated, then took the brush Clara offered. They painted side by side, the afternoon sun warm on their shoulders, the air filled with the scent of grass and paint. Clara's strokes were bold, confident, while Elena's were tentative, unsure. They talked as they worked about art, dreams, the lives they'd imagined when they were younger. Clara spoke of her college years, the galleries she dreamed of filling, the freedom she'd lost when she became a single mom. "You're lucky," Clara said, her brush pausing. "You've got time to chase what you want." Elena looked at her, the words stirring something deep. "I don't know what I want," she admitted. "Not really." Clara's eyes met hers, steady and searching. You'll figure it out. You're braver than you think. The words hit harder than Elena expected. She wanted to be brave, to lean into this feeling, but the fear of hurting Mia, of ruining everything, held her back. She set her brush down, her hands trembling. Clara, what are we doing? Clara didn't look away. We're painting, she said, her voice light but her eyes serious. And we're talking. And maybe we're feeling something we're not supposed to. But it's real, Elena. You can't ignore that. Elena's breath caught. She wanted to argue, to say it was wrong, but the truth was undeniable. She was falling for Clara, and it was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. They finished their paintings, simple landscapes that felt like a shared secret. As they cleaned up, Clara's hand brushed Elena's again, deliberate this time. Elena didn't pull away. Instead, she stepped closer, her heart pounding. Clara, she whispered, her voice raw. I don't know how to do this. Clara's hand cupped Elena's cheek, her touch gentle but firm. You don't have to know, she said. Just let it happen. And then they were kissing, soft at first, then urgent, the world falling away. It was everything Elena had imagined, warm, electric, overwhelming. But as Clara pulled her closer, Mia's face flashed in Elena's mind, and she broke away, gasping. I can't, she said, stepping back. Mia, I can't do this to her. Clara's face fell, but she nodded, her expression a mix of understanding and pain. I know, she said. I don't want to hurt her either. Elena left, her heart in pieces, the taste of Clara still on her lips. She drove aimlessly, the weight of her choice crushing her. She'd chosen Mia, her friend, her family. But as the miles stretched on, she wondered if she'd also lost something she'd never find again. Weeks passed, and Elena avoided Mia's house. She threw herself into work, into routine, trying to bury the memory of Clara's kiss. But it lingered, a ghost that haunted her quiet moments. She saw Clara everywhere, in the curve of a stranger's smile, the scent of jasmine on the breeze. She missed her, and it hurt. Mia noticed the change. You're acting weird, she said one evening, as they sat in a diner, burgers untouched. What's going on with you? Elena wanted to tell her, to confess everything, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she lied. Just stressed. Work's been crazy. Mia didn't buy it, but she let it go, her eyes searching Elena's face. You know you can tell me anything, right? Elena nodded, her throat tight. She hated lying, but the truth felt impossible. She couldn't lose Mia, not after everything they'd been through. One evening, unable to stand the silence, Elena drove to Mia's house. She didn't know what she'd say, only that she needed to see Clara, to understand what they'd lost. When she knocked, Clara answered, her face lighting up with surprise and something deeper. Elena, she said, stepping aside. Come in. They sat in the living room, the same fairy lights glowing, but the air was heavier now, filled with unspoken words. I'm sorry, Elena said, her voice breaking. I didn't know how to handle this. Clara's eyes were soft, but there was pain there too. I shouldn't have pushed you, she said. You're young, and Mia, she's my world. I let myself forget that. Elena shook her head. It wasn't just you. I wanted it too. I still do. The admission hung between them, raw and vulnerable. Clara reached for her hand, but stopped short. We can't, she said, her voice steady but laced with regret. Not like this. Mia deserves better. Elena nodded, tears stinging her eyes. She knew Clara was right, but it didn't make it hurt less. Can we still be friends? She asked, her voice small. Clara smiled, a sad, beautiful smile. I'd like that. They talked for hours, not about love or desire, but about life, dreams, the people they wanted to be. It wasn't what Elena had hoped for, but it was something real, something honest. And as she left, she felt a strange peace. She'd lost the chance at love, but she'd gained something else, a deeper understanding of herself, of what it meant to choose love in all its forms. Months later, Elena stood at Mia's side, helping her pack for a new job in Boston. They laughed, reminisced, their friendship stronger for the trials they'd faced, even if Mia never knew the full story. Clara was there too, her presence warm but no longer a pull Elena couldn't resist. They'd found a balance, a way to care for each other without crossing lines. As Elena drove home, the night sky stretched wide above her, stars bright against the dark. She thought of Clara, of Mia, of the choices that had shaped her. Love wasn't just romance, it was friendship, sacrifice, the courage to let go. And in that moment, Elena knew she was ready for whatever came next. Her heart full, her spirit free. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.